Now, this is something I want to ask the three of you because you guys have very, very distinct perspectives on this. Whether it's Coach Tim, when you prepare for the draft and selection of new players to join your team, Coach Bishaw, now that you're in the G League platform, and, Coach Jimmy with the ABL, which is a middle ground for so many young players. There are a lot of players who are aspiring to be professional players at the highest level in the NBA for Coach Bishaw and professionally here in the Philippines. If you guys could maybe name one thing that, aspiring players who want to be professionals should absolutely focus on that maybe you don't think they focus on enough, what would that one thing be? Coach Tim, maybe we can start with you.
For me, it's high motor. He has to have a high motor. It all starts from there. I mean, obviously the skills are important and you look at the skills, but for me, I've got to see a guy who's going to come in with a high motor and what I mean by that, of course, is that desire to play hard all the time. And I think it starts from there. And I think that players don't realize that. And I think that they want to come in and show that, they can shoot the ball, they have pretty moves. We go into our rookie camps, what we call our rookie camps, where it's kind of like everybody plays together to get teams and they play. The thing I look at is I watch guys play defense. If they're ready to play D and they have that high motor there, and that's going to attract my eye first. If I see a guy go out and just, throwing up shots every time, that'll turn me off as a coach. But, it's going to be more desired after that.
Coach Michel, what's that one thing for you that's maybe overlooked by guys who are aspiring to be pros?
Well, I think it's a combination of things, and I agree with Coach about, having a motor, but I think you also have to be willing to accept coaching. A lot of guys come in and they think that they have a certain skill set that worked, at lower levels, and then now they're at the highest level, or about to approach the highest level, and they want to continue to do the things, maybe you were a star on a team on the level below, but now you may have to be a role player on this team. So you have to be able to accept coaching. You got to put in the work, and you got to do everything that you do at game speed, because if you don't, if you're just out there taking shots casually when you're practicing and working out or what have you, and then you have a defense in front of you that's, when the game starts, it speeds you up. Everything that you've done now is going to be a different shot when you get in the game because you're being sped up. So you got to work, you got to work your game speed or have that motor like Coach talked about, and you got to be able to accept coaching.
And Coach Jimmy, what's that one thing that you've noticed in your experience?
Nico, for me, you hear it all the time, but I think, I think it's still an incredibly important tool, especially when you get to the professional level. It's just the work ethic. Guys willing to come in every day ready to work, especially, playing against, the top players in the world. You have to sustain that work ethic where you're coming in, improving, like Coach Brian said, and doing it at game speed, because it's a lot different than just coming to the gym and, getting a few shots up. I mean, it has to be, work to where you're really working to improve your game, so that you're ready when you get out there.
See, all these valuable lessons that you guys are sharing, I'm sure it's helping a lot of aspiring professionals who are watching this right now. But also at the same time, it's proving a point to me personally, because I think I have a high motor on defense, Coach Tim. I think I'm very coachable, Coach Bishaw. And Coach Jimmy, I work really hard. That just says to me, I have all those three things. I'm still not a pro. That just means I suck at the game. So, all right. Message sent, coaches, loud and clear. You didn't have to embarrass me this way, but loud and clear. I got it. All right. Now I know I am asking the questions and you guys actually work at the game. Okay. Here's the one thing I know that we can't avoid. And I know that people have been talking about this for years and we'll continue to see this. the NBA is positionless right now, essentially, right? So some teams still throw out a more traditional lineup there, but you're also seeing teams that are a little bit more, cavalier with how they make up the five on the floor. I mean, Nikola Jokic initiates the offense as a 7-footer, and you have Robert Covington, who's 6'7", on a good day, and he's playing the center spot, he's the guy in the middle for the Rockets. What are your guys' thoughts on where the game is going? This play style, and do you think that this is a trend that's going to happen maybe for the next 2 to 3 years, and then it circles back to more traditional, or do you think this is just the start, and we're really going to go a different way with how basketball is being played? Coach Bishaw, maybe we should start with you, with being that you're the closest with experience to this type of play in the NBA.
Well, definitely, it's becoming a positionless game. And I think that teams will get away with it with playing, small ball, having the biggest guys on the floor, the furthest away from the basket, until there's another dominant inside player like Shaquille O'Neal. When you have somebody like that, you can pound the ball inside, and teams have to adjust to to having somebody like that. You can play that style of basketball. But right now in the NBA, there's nobody really dominant like that inside. Nobody really plays with their back to the basket. And so I think it's important for all players to learn all skills. And if there's something that you're particularly good at, hone in on that. Somebody like a Draymond Green from the Warriors is very valuable. Not just because of we know he's a great defensive player and a great team defensive player, but offensively, he's a facilitator for that team. You put him in pick and roll, and when they double team Steph or Clay and they have to hit him in the middle, he can find the open man on the weak side and make the kind of decisions that he needs to make to facilitate for his team. So I think that it's important for all players to learn all skills, no matter what position or what size they play. And even more importantly than that, be able to defend, even if you're a 7-footer. If you are a weak defender, there's times where you're going to have to switch and guard little quick, crafty guards. You'll be more valuable to a team if you can show that you can sit down and stay in front of those little guards, keep them out the paint, and then also contest if they raise up for a three.
Coach Tim, really quickly, is this something that you see, maybe translating to the local game, or maybe, to Coach Bishaw's point, we have someone who's a dominant big man here in the Philippines, in Junmar. Is that the reason why maybe we don't go as positionless?
Well, I think most of the teams are playing more positionless basketball now at this point. Junmar is an exception, just like like Shaq would be in the NBA. I think that the thing right now is that big men or players are trained differently. Even if you're big and strong, you're still trained differently than you were 10, 15 years ago. Big men would play inside. Now all the big men are learning to play outside. So I think that's the way the game is going. Will it cycle back? The game evolves. Through my 30 years, it has evolved so much, and it continues to evolve. And it will evolve again over the next 10 years. So to say it's going to stay this way, I think that's wrong to say that. But I think it's a possibility. But I think we will evolve from this into something else that we don't even know about. 15 years ago, right, the only guys who were running positionless basketball was basically the Bulls who went triangle, except they had a legitimate big. But they were playing 5 different positions.
Now, we have a bunch of fan questions, and, we did promise that we were going to read it. We were going to read them. And this one's for Coach Bishaw. As a former teammate, and, on the coaching staff of the late, great Kobe Bryant, we were talking about bouncing back from adversity earlier, and he's one of those with his Mamba mentality examples of someone who's done it over and over and did it over and over in his career. Do you recall a specific memory that you had, I guess, a front row seat for that stands out when it comes to him bouncing back from a setback?
Well, I think the thing that comes to mind, obviously, he's the toughest player that I've ever played with, that has the highest threshold for pain. And I think when he went down with when he ruptured his Achilles, Um, and it was like later on in his career, and everybody thought that it was going to be over for him. But he actually got up and shot his free throws, and then he walked off the floor. And there's kind of this unwritten, unspoken about uh, law amongst players that you never want to be carried off the court. You always want to walk off on your own, under your own power. And I've seen players. Paul Pierce comes to mind in the 2008 finals, where he went down with an apparent knee injury, and they wheeled him off the court in the finals in a wheelchair. And then he came back a minute and 51 seconds later and hit 3 threes, and they beat us in that game. So, I mean, that just, like I said about Kobe's toughness and his threshold for pain, that says it all, to me. And then he came back from that Achilles injury and was able to have a couple more productive years.
Coach Mishaw, I mean, I love you ever since you've been throwing the black tornado lob to Shaq as a Laker. But on our first ever conversation together, the slight shade to the Celtics and the fact that you couldn't stay away from doing that, I just love.